Casper, Wyoming via Boston. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning to be with you jerks, and that's the best applause and welcome that I can get. Thank you. Very well. Now let's see. I don't know whether or not you will permit me to manipulate you, but I like to do that at the beginning because I need to make myself comfortable. And I'm not interested in much as to whether you're comfortable as whether I am, because I have to work here this afternoon. And I'm a little uneasy whenever I start one of these things because I never know what's going to happen. The last time I did a voir dire examination demonstration in this very room, there were some women. Are there any women here? Please identify yourselves. I can't tell. That decided, hello, that decided to set me up, and they did, and I spent a whole afternoon defending myself. So I always start sort of uneasy, and I'd like it if you would come down close to me. Come to me, please. I need you. Join me. Out here. You don't have to move if you don't want to, but it sort of make me feel good if you did. Is there anybody while you're on your feet that would like to be on my jury? Anybody else? I need 12. Come on. Fill up the seats for me. Come on, honey, let's make up right now.
You believe.
Excuse me. I can't see, is all. That's the problem. I'd like to have to do a little different format today. I don't want to stay up here and lecture to you because that sets up a game that I'm not sure I want to play. The game is that I know and you don't know. That I am all wise and you are stupid. That I am strong and you are weak and helpless. And that game sometimes isn't, most of the time, isn't very fruitful. I think it's the game that we play when we go through law school. And I think it's the big rip-off of our social system. I have the sense that when I can't hear myself very well. Is this thing turned up as loud as it'll go? I have a sense that, when I play that game, that I come out as the object of that prophecy, that I really don't know very much and that I really am pretty weak. And it would be my hope this afternoon to share with you as colleagues some of the things that I have learned from my experiences, knowing that you won't learn from what I say to you, but you will only learn from your own experiences. I would like in this format to have you feel free to just interrupt me when you feel like doing that. Let's talk about it. If something seems appropriate at the time, let's talk about it. You may wish to know why I've done something, and it may be that I don't know why I've done something, and we'll find out. Or it may be that I will be able to talk with you about a situation that you have that will be helpful to you. So, if you will permit me to address you informally as fellow attorneys, as colleagues, and not as in the position of the guru and the humble, lowly, we will proceed on that basis. After all, I am here from Casper, Wyoming, and I obviously couldn't know very much. I am one of those freaks of nature that John loves to display, John, your dean, to his students, with the proposition being that if that asshole can do it, anybody can. So that may be my principal function here this afternoon, is to get you over the proposition of the intimidation that has been instilled in all of us over the years. If Jerry Spence isn't afraid, then why should we be? He grew up in Wyoming. He was born in a little village in Wyoming, and he practiced most of his career in a town which doesn't exceed 5,000 in population. He has had some success in the courts, so maybe you can. But the truth of the matter is that I am afraid. And you saw me shuffling you around here and kind of manipulating people and saying things to get comfortable. Now, I want to say a few things about voir dire before I start, and maybe I'll demonstrate some of these things as we go along. But first of all, voir dire is perhaps, in those jurisdictions that you can do it, is perhaps the most singularly abused and avoided skill and tool that the lawyer has, and it's perhaps the most important one he has. I like to think that I thought she was going to leave, and I thought, oh, Jesus, they're starting to leave already. I like to disagree for just a moment with your honored dean. I do not believe that what I am going to show you is a sort of maximum effort, a sort of maximum demonstration of what you can, quote, get away with. I would like to see it as a minimum. You see, it's a matter of attitude as you walk into the courtroom. As you walk into the courtroom, you say, this is the most I can get away with. And then guess what? The prophecy has already been fulfilled, and you indeed can't get away with anything. You say, my name is John Doe, and somebody objects. And that's as far as you get. I want you to know that you ought not to try to get away with anything in the courtroom. Just do it. Did you hear what I said? What did I say? Don't try, just do it. Now, I mean by that if you are in the process of thinking that this is the most that I can do and that I'll try to do these things, guess what's going to happen to you? You are in the process already of having failed. Trying is the process by which one fails, not by which one succeeds. One succeeds simply by doing it. One fails by trying to succeed. Nobody wants to fail except those who fail. And so I walk into the courtroom frightened, my guts churning, which is the subject of another lecture which I often give here and which I will give to you sometime, but not today. And I'm afraid, and I have reason to be afraid, but I do it. And that's the way I want you to think. That's the message that I'd like to give you. This jury here is going to try my case. I look at you and I don't know you. I ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm frightened of you. You have my client's life in your hands, or will shortly. I don't know any of you. I'm concerned about putting a man's life in your hands that I have grown to love a good deal. You don't know me. I look at you, I don't know whether you trust me. Some of you don't look like you trust me. You trust me? You haven't any reason to, do you? It makes me uptight to work in that kind of a situation, and I hope that by the time we get through with this trial that we'll know each other and understand each other. You'll understand my function here and see it as a proper function, one that will be of help to you. I hope that's what will happen. Already, you see, I feel a little better about this group of people, having said that to them. Already, you don't look so strange to me. And I don't feel so alien from you. What's the dynamic that we just undertook? What did we really do? I just told them how it was with me. That's how it really is with me. That's how it was with me as I said it to you. And as I said that to you, maybe you trusted me a little bit more, did you? You wouldn't want to admit that anybody could get to you that easy, would you? Okay. The voir dire examination has for its purpose, first of all, to get acquainted with the jury. Think about this jury. Think about these 12 people. Let's put them in the capsule now of sort of an experimental capsule, and let's look at them as creatures for just a minute. Have you ever looked at a jury as a set of creatures? You know, like bacteria that we're culturing in a nice warm place? What about them? They are in a strange environment. I've just finished a famous or infamous, as you see it, VD case that some of you have heard about. And I would now look at the jury as nothing but a, gonococci sitting there. They are out of the womb, where they are warm and moist, and where they can grow and feel protected. They're here in a glass cage being cultured. What about a jury? As they come out of their places where they work, from their families, from their routine every day, and they're suddenly put in this place. Are they comfortable? Do they trust me? They don't trust anybody. They trust the judge. They're frightened. They're as frightened as I am. They need some help. They want some sense of belonging. They'd like somebody to guide them. They are in a strange forest. They don't know, particularly the jury who has never tried a case, and you will certainly be on many of those where the juror sits here and being on his first case, a virgin juror. I see more virgin jurors than any other kind. There they are. You don't know each other. They sit there. They haven't met. They're sitting next to strangers. They have the responsibility of finding justice. They've been sworn and asked questions, and then the other side comes up and under the same oath reminds them of the same sworn questions and gets the opposite answers from them. They're manipulated back and forth by counsel in the voir dire examination. The judge is looking down at the bench very solemnly at them. Everything that's being said is being taken down by a court reporter. There's an audience of people as the attorney asks them questions, and their guts are churning inside, and they're thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, can I do it? Can I get through this thing? They're frightened. They know that they have maybe in any case, any criminal case, they know they have the life of a man in their hands, that they are going to decide the fate of a man. Some of them don't give a shit, but there aren't very many of those. Most of them will act like they don't give a shit because they have to cover up their own inside fear. But most of them are like you and like me, and they're afraid. And they don't know quite what to do. They're out of their element. They are out of the womb. They are in the glass cage being cultivated, and they need somebody to take them through the forest. Now, that is a nice concept because there is only two trails that they can follow. Don't write any of this shit down. It doesn't, it isn't worth writing down. I would rather you just hear it. Because in the depths of a trial, it will come creeping back to you, and your computer will tell you what to do with it. Go ahead, write it down. I don't care. But, that's a nice concept. It's the concept that he's only got two ways to go, that juror. He's got the path that you provide and will guide him through, or the path that the prosecutor will guide him through. He's got to go one of two ways. And he will pick his leader early, maybe not consciously. I can remember talking to a jury after a trial against Continental Motor Company in Wyoming. If you think that we've got any criminals in Wyoming of any consequence by which I could make my living, you're mistaken, because we are a very upright and very honest and straight state. We don't have big criminals. We just have a few, not very many. Don't have very many people. So I have to make my living doing other things, like suing Continental Motor Company and Ford Motor Company and a personal injury and things like that. And I can remember a case involving Continental Motor Company when, after we got a big verdict, it was the biggest one in the history of the state. I was so proud of it, and the court later reversed it without any good reason, without even giving any good reason, without even having been able to perceive a good reason. It just, quote, shocked their conscience. I talked to the juror afterwards about the case, and he got very frank with me, and he said, "Right from the beginning, we were with you, Mr. Spence." And I thought that was really nice. And he said, and we'd go back and they'd put on their witnesses, and we'd say at lunch, "Well, that witness didn't hurt us." And then at the next recess, they'd say, "And that witness didn't hurt us either." And so they went through a whole trial, saying, "We're for the plaintiff unless they do something to us," and they ain't doing it to us. That's where I want to start in any case. There is a time to win a case, and that is at the earliest possible time, the first opportunity. And the voir dire is the first opportunity that I know of to win a case. I like to feel during the trial that I am ahead at the time of the voir dire. I say it both ways to let you know that I know one is right and one is wrong, but I don't know which is which. And I think that for that reason, you should give a good deal of study to the propositions of proper voir dire examination. Well, one of the things that jurors have to have before they follow a guide through the forest is a sense of trust. Yes, sir.
Question. When you start out, what would be your opinion
Well, that's a very good case. I mean, a very good question. And let me tell you how I feel about that. Are you coming back, Stuart? He always, all right. Yeah, the question is how far should you be away from the jury when you start out, because there is a sense of territory. Let me show you what he means. When I stand up here and talk to you, you have a sense, now do you not, that says, hey, get back, man, get back. Don't get in the, this is my territory. Don't get up here yet. It's only when we get to the place where we are together that we can get into the same territory comfortably. We ain't there yet. Have you? Can't you hear? Okay. All right. Well. All right. You're talking. Can you hear me back there? All right. He'll probably sell the tape without of this thing without my permission anyway, so I don't care whether it's any good or not. Well, he did that already once. Let me say this as a guide to that proposition. I have a little barometer or a little thing down here in my own gut that I listen to all the time. It tells me where I am. Do I feel comfortable up there? When I walked up here close to this fella, I did this, I made myself do it. And I didn't feel ready myself. So I think there is a time when you feel ready and that you will find yourself unconsciously, without even realizing it, coming forward, and it's probably that's the time. It's sort of like making love to a woman. The question could be said, when do you really get to the stuff that it's really all about? How long do you talk to her before you kind of get with it? And I'm not making fun. I'm just trying to be funny about a very serious proposition, and that is, you do that when you have a sense that it's okay. And all right. But let me say this to you. If I am uncomfortable with the jury will sort of be uncomfortable with me too. It's a mutuality. As I become more comfortable in the room, let's just talk about what's happened to us here. As I have become more comfortable with you, have you felt more comfortable with me? Yeah, but you must have felt okay, or you wouldn't have asked the question. You must have felt it was okay to talk to this guy and to ask him a question, and you waited until this point to do so. It would have been an appropriate question earlier. I'm just suggesting to you that as I become more comfortable with you people, as a relator of me to you, as a sharer of my thinking and my thoughts with you, you become more comfortable in accepting them, don't you? Trust begets trust. If I trust you, you trust me. If I don't trust you, you sort of don't want to get around me. And those things I think you have to feel. And the question is an extremely good question for two reasons. One, there is indeed a territorial sense that we all have, whether we're jurors or what we are, that ought not to be invaded until it's time to invade it. And secondly, the question permits me to say to you something that's very important, I think, from my standpoint, and that is that you've got to trust yourself and your own feelings, and you have to become aware of your own feelings to be a good trial lawyer. And it makes me want to launch into a tirade about how you've all been taken and ripped off in law school, which in my judgment, has prepared you to do nothing of any value or of any service. Do I offend you? I think you have really been ripped off. I sense that, you know, the professors have stuffed your little minds, and your big minds, if you will, full of all kinds of things and got you to play up here on a very narrow sort of intellectual level so that you can play their silly intellectual games. Can't you see those assholes trying to get all those cases correlated when they don't have anything to do with anything? That's what they've tried to get you to do. And then, you know, you come into a courtroom and you try to win your case in the courtroom based upon this sort of this specific little function called mentation. It's called intellectualization. You walk around and say, I got 150 IQ and I'm going to make $1 million fucking dollars. You know, you got 150 IQ and you ain't going to get nowhere, baby. Because I ain't got 150 IQ and I'll beat your ass in any courtroom in the country. Any of you want to play that kind of game with me. And any of you can try a case successfully against me in any courtroom of the country if you are just yourself, your full self. That means throwing it all in, baby, all the guts, all the feelings, all of the propositions of once having been a little boy or a little girl. Do you remember when you were a little girl? Do you remember when you were a little girl? Do you remember when you were a little girl? Do you? Are you aware of it now? Can you feel the little girl in you as you sit there? Can you really? Don't just shake your head. Don't shit me. Just tell me. You know what I'm trying to say to you is that if you can just put it all in there. Something happened to me. Where's my briefcase? I'm not sure that this will reach that. Would you please hand me my briefcase? What I do on these trips is I pick up a whole big stack of mail. Thank you. I pick up a whole big stack of mail full of all kinds of stuff, and I read it on the airplane. And one of these was a letter to Jerry L. Spence from Gold Hill, Oregon, and that's where my daddy lives, and he sent me some pictures. And I just opened this up on this trip to see what they were. Let me show you a picture of me, only because I want you to know that I had a very vivid experience as I went through these pictures today, and I didn't intend to bring them along to show you this, and I didn't intend to even talk about this, but it came to me, and I think it's important. As I sat there on the airplane, I couldn't believe that this big hulk of a man, that some people say is fearful and powerful, came from this little frightened boy that I see in these pictures. And that deep down inside is that same little boy as I stand here. I looked at him, and he was so little and funny looking and sort of sweet. I never realized he was that sweet. As I knew him, he was just kind of a scared little boy that wasn't very sweet at all. Got caught playing with the girl next door in the garage. Never did get over that trauma. How do you explain that to the old lady? You know, I had a lot of ugly feelings about me, and yet here he is, and I wanted you to see this little kid. Now, please don't lose these, because they mean a lot to me. They're the only ones in the world. But that's me with my hands there, and not where you think it is.
This isn't the garage photo.
No, this isn't the garage photo.
Man from Guam.
The little girl is my little baby sister. And
You want me to pass it?
Yes, I want everybody to see this. Because you know why I want you to see this? Because I want you to have a sense of the little boy and the little girl in you. Because you need to take that into the courtroom in the process of feeling what's going on. There's another picture of the little boy. Isn't he a sweet little thing? Look at him. I'm the big one there, and that's my little sister. Yeah? Okay. The goat was I was raised up in just the late Depression age, and the rest of the kids got their milk in the neighborhood through the milkman who left a quart bottle on the steps, and we got our milk from a nanny goat. I took her out and we fed her in the alley, and she ate the weeds in the alley, and sometimes she'd get on the wrong bunch of weeds, and Jesus, the milk was awful. And if you get her in the right weeds, the milk was good. And the only reason, again, that I call you this attention to you is that somehow I never did feel as I grew up that I was quite as good as other kids. One of the reasons being is that I got my milk from a nanny goat and they got theirs from a bottle. And there's a picture of me and the nanny goat that Dad just sent in that envelope of pictures. Well, does that have much to do with the subject of voir dire examination? Do any of you feel that it does? How many of you feel that that's just a bunch of horseshit that doesn't have anything to do with anything? Okay. I would be willing to hear from you. And I will respond to it. Yeah? You feel that way, don't you? You feel conned?
No, I think you're trying to create a point. I think the point's valuable. You can't put on a exterior. You have to be yourself. But I'm saying that when you come across a jury like that, it's very suspect.
It'd be better to cover it up, if that's the way you really are, with you could stand there with your knees locked, and you could stiffen up a little bit and be straighter. You could talk very intellectually and very straight about the law, and you wouldn't have to subject them to the possibility that you were being real. You could be very dignified. You know, I've always admired lawyers who were dignified, that could, just walk into the courtroom and everything is so nice, and they got this pinstripes, and they're so dignified, and they talk so intellectually. But I always win. They always say, "That phony son of a bitch."
What it's worth, when he started out here, I sat here kind of resistant to the idea that he was going to con me. And I'm a lawyer, and knew what he was going to do. Just as soon as he started out, I felt he was being himself and he was getting through. Now I'm amazed that everybody did it. So,
See, now I feel it's worth a lot to me because that makes me feel loved. And we all need a little of that. Yes? I didn't hear you.
I want to be real and natural too. Can you do something like that?
Is it bothering you? Could you, Dean, come down here and do something with this that will be... Could you still have enough light? Is that better? No, wait a minute. What I am... Wait a minute. Now let me answer him first, and then I'll answer you. Oh, I'm sorry. He said what you are trying to do is to create a bond between yourself and the jury, or yourself and the audience, in a sort of MC-type stance. And I said, now wait a minute. That's where I ended off. What I am trying to do is to take care of me first. I am trying, first of all, to become easy in this arena of death. This is a place where men die. This is a place where men, when they are tried as your client, even if he is acquitted, will never be the same. You bring him into this place where nothing grows, where men die, where the judge is the king, and the jury is only there to see that the king's justice is done, which is to destroy and to kill your client. It's the only purpose of the trial, is to imprison him and kill him. That's what we're here for today, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Not to do justice. And why shouldn't you be afraid? And why shouldn't you recognize that? Why don't you understand that all of this lays on your shoulders and you feel so ill prepared because you have been taught funny little things that work up here on the head level? How is it then that you can function in such a place? How is it that you can, even talk with the judge behind you ready to crawl down your throat and the prosecutor over there ready to jump in on you, and somehow I sense that they're going to rip your guts from your belly and drag their guts around the arena and fill them full of gravel and dirt and sticks and pop bottles, and then ask you to stick them all back in. It's a horrid place, the courtroom. You feel comfortable and loving and gentle and warm and safe in the courtroom, or do you feel frightened, like I feel frightened? And do you feel that there is somehow a need for you to survive in this place? No matter what, somehow to survive, and you survive some way. What I'm talking to you about are means by which you can survive as a human being, to take care of you first. And if I can just be easy, if I can just feel at ease with you, it's not a process of me trying to, first of all, manipulate you, although I will manipulate you if I can to feel easy. It is a process by which I'm trying to take care of me. And if you would unfold your arms, it would suggest to me that you really accepted what I had to say. Tells me, that I wasn't getting through to him. He was saying, you're going to give that shit to me. Do you watch for those sort of things? You hear, there's a book called Body Language, and everybody talks about body language, and it's getting almost passé. But it's there, and I hear it, I listen to it, I look for it. When I sit down with my partner and I say, come here, I've got an idea about a case. And you know what he does? He walks up, sits down in the chair like this, crosses his leg like I'm going to get to his goodies. Then he crosses his arms like this. And then he says, okay, let's hear it. He said, you can't get to me. I ain't gonna. And I'll say to him, come on, uncross your legs. Open your arms. Put your arms down. Because I don't want to talk to you all. I don't want you to talk to me all crossed out. It's true. You just somehow, if you can physically open up people to you, it will help. But to answer your question, I really believe that my function in the courtroom is to first of all become easy for me. That you're going to say to me before this lecture and this demonstration, I'll get around to demonstrating after a while. You're going to say to me, which jurors will you leave on and which ones won't you? And you've heard all about, be sure and leave on, be sure and leave on Irishmen and blacks, because they are compassionate and emotional. And take off Swedes, leave on Jews because they are compassionate and emotional, but take off Germans. You know, that's all horse shit. Don't believe any of it. A guy sold 1 million copies of a book called Goldstein on Trial Technique. How many of you read it? How many of you have heard of it if you haven't read it? Let me tell you that there isn't anything in that book, Mr. Goldstein, that's worth reading about that subject. And I hunch that Mr. Goldstein never in his life tried a respectable jury case. I suspect that. I don't know it. Because if he did, he wouldn't have written what he wrote. I'm a very emotional person. Do you believe that? I'm German. Blonde, Aryan, God, I ought to be just straight, logical, but I ain't. Yes, sir? Remind me to tell you the kind of people that I want to take off the jury, because that was what I started to talk about, and I'll answer your question now if you promise to not let me get off the course.
Your approach to educate the jury as your belief, or to educate yourself as your belief, very prejudiced. You try to have them follow.
Both. I want to know what they believe, but I want them also to believe what I believe. I'll show you that in a minute. I'll give you a demonstration on how to do that in a little while. If I don't, and if I forget to do that, will you be sure and remind me? Okay, now the first rule, and there should not be any rules, that's the first rule, there are no rules. But the first rule that I would like to tell you about in jury selection, be sure and write this down now, is to accept on the jury only those people that you feel comfortable with. How do you feel in your belly? How do you feel about somebody? Do you want to work through a 2-week trial with a man's life at stake and his liberty in your hands with somebody that you don't feel comfortable with? You can't choose the judge, but you can select partly the jury. And if there is somebody on that jury that makes you feel uncomfortable, there is a reason why. It may be that you're making him feel uncomfortable, and he is passing that back to you. The stuff that's going on is going on in the jury this way, with all kinds of levels of communication between us that I can't perceive on this narrow little intellectual level that I've been taught in law school. How do I understand all of the levels of communication, all of the stuff that goes on between us? I can't. But something here in my computer tells me, and I turn to the jury and I look through them and I find out, you know, do I feel comfortable or uncomfortable with somebody on the jury? And if I feel uncomfortable, I'm going to challenge him because I have good reason. The reason is, you know, if my partner says, how come you're going to challenge him? I'm going to say, none of your goddamn business. I'm going to challenge him. He'll say, that isn't any way to talk to me. I'm your partner. And I'll say, the reason I'm going to challenge him is because I feel uncomfortable with him. This courtroom is for me. This is my arena. This is my place. I am in control of it. I own it. I own you, Your Honor. You don't know it, you dumb bastard, but I do, and I will before the case is over, and you will know it before the case is over. I own the whole thing. And they're not going to convict my client, and I'm not going to subject my client to some chicken shit compromise like manslaughter instead of first-degree murder. I want an acquittal, and I will tell you, as ladies and gentlemen of the jury, before the case is over, that I expect you to acquit my client. Do you understand? All right. My arguments are arguments of overstatement to you, but they are overstated because I am afraid that if I put them in their totally proper perspective, they will be lost. You have so long been bent in this direction. From the time you were old enough almost to toddle, you saw who's got the picture of me with the goat? You got it? You got the one with me and my little sister? Okay, from the time I was old enough to put my arm around that goat, I was taught that it all occurs up here. I went to school. I was taught to get good grades. I was taught to study hard. I was taught to respect the teacher. I was taught to stay in line. I was taught to only go so far. I was taught, to try. Try. If at first you don't succeed, I can hear my old grandfather saying to me, Jerry, if at first you don't succeed, try and suck another seed. Or try again, or whatever the hell it was, that he said. And so I am overstating on the side of the emotional, on the side of my position and arguments a little bit, because you have been bent so long, so hard the other way.
You've been talking about building rapport
Yes, sir.
to yourself and the jury. How about if your defendant said, that juror that is second rate from the left, I did me and looked at me really strange, I feel uncomfortable.
Trust it.
To you.
Yep.
How do you find it?
Well, now it depends. It depends on some things. First of all, I want you to know that your defendant is not going to be on trial in the case you are. I am the defendant. I am on trial. It is my life. It is my truth. It is my words. It is my position. It's my performance that will win or lose more than anything else. He's just it. I will try to make him alive. I will try to make him real. I will show you some ways to do that. I keep promising you that I'm going to show you these things, but I've got till 5 o'clock. What was the question again? Yeah, if the client feels uncomfortable, then I want to sit down with the client and say, look, it depends on the situation. If the client's going to take the stand, depends on the case. If the client's credibility is involved, it depends on the case. It depends on his ability to convey to be a good witness. It depends on how perceptive I think he is. Supposing if it's an even-Steven deal and I don't have any particular feelings one way or the other about the juror, but he has strong feelings, I'll get rid of the juror. If I'm getting some strong vibrations from this person that say to me, we're going to make it, and she or he is going to go along with me irrespective of what she feels of you, I may tell him that. I'll sit down and say, hey, look, I'm getting strong indications from this juror that we're going to make it. And How do you feel about that? Do you think that maybe we ought to? I'm going to let him sort of have a say. I'm not going to ever override his ultimate decision. But in 25 years of practice before juries, I have never had a client that wanted to tell me what to do. Never. Now, maybe you do, but I don't. I'll say, what do you think about so-and-so? And they say, whatever you say, Mr. Spence. By the time we get to court, my client believes me and believes in me, and we're not all the same. But I don't like to give very much responsibility for the trial of the case to my client. I like to take it all, because when it's all over, I want all the credit for having won, see? But the other side of that is also true. I don't want to lose the case, even if I have a scapegoat to blame it on. And my judgments are usually better than his. And I tell him so. You're under the gun. You are afraid. Your judgments are generally, suspect. Let's talk about it.
Short question. Do you allow your client to help you pick a jury or practice?
Not much. I will ask him before. Now, I do it mostly for, one of you want to be a client? Who wants to be a client? Do you? Come on. Evil-looking bastard, isn't he? Guilty. Just a minute. Don't forget. Okay. Now, you want to sit over here in this chair? Here's what I'll do when I'm finally getting ready to exercise challenges. And I'll say it out loud so that you can hear what I would say to the client. I want you to watch what I do. I put my arm around him like this because I want the jury to know. Then I will have done this several times. I will show you during the course of this lecture how I do that. But I want the jury to know that he's quite harmless, that I feel comfortable with him, and that I don't have any hang-ups that many of you suffer from. Do you have any hang-ups, sweetie? Okay. And I'll say to him, I sort of want to take off number 7 back there. I sort of want to take off number 7 back there because he bugs my ass. How do you feel about him?
Where's number 1?
And you just look, well, it doesn't make any difference. Just look. And you say whatever he says. And then I'll say, but you see, the jury sees me, and he looked. You saw him look? And then I'll say, now, is there anybody up here you want off? We'll talk about it a little bit, and he'll usually say, whatever you say, Mr. Spence. And then I'll say to him, now, I want you to look at every one of these mothers right smack in the eye. We'll start at this end over here, and we'll look at them together. Now, let's do that right now, because I want the jury to know we're looking at every one of them. Now, the whole process, you see, is a process by which the jurors who are, I don't care about those that get kicked off. They can't decide my case. The ones that are left know they are chosen. They have been selected. They know that they have been looked at and examined, and that he and I together have agreed that they're okay. It's like putting that prime beef stamp right on their ass. Says they are it. They're okay. And they say, well, if I'm okay with them, then what's the corollary? They're okay with me. And that's the way it really is. There isn't anything phony about that. We are doing it. I want to know how he feels, and I want them to know that they have been looked at and chosen. Does that intimidate? I hear you. Does that intimidate you a little bit and make you think that maybe you ought to, when he gets up and says very self-righteous, you know, I passed the jury for cause, Your Honor. The first 12 are good enough for me. Your Honor, we pass them. Does that sort of intimidate you? To saying, well, if they're good enough for him, they're good enough for me? Well, I don't take that position at all. I would just get up and say, you know, I care about my case, Your Honor, and I care about my client, and I care about the kind of people that sit on this jury, and there are a special kind of people that are going to sit on this jury, and Your Honor, we're going to find out about it, and I'm going to ask all the questions that I can think of to ask. Now, how about that? It is good. It's the truth, too, isn't it? I'm telling the truth. Or how about just getting up and saying, well, that intimidates me, Your Honor. If the prosecution says the first 12 are all right with him, I guess I'm supposed to say the first 12 are all right with me, but that ain't the way it really is with me. Because I don't know whether they're all right or not unless I ask them some questions. And so let me ask some questions, Your Honor. Would that be all right with you, sir? What's wrong with that? It's the truth, isn't it? Yes, sir.
Setting where you exercise your challenges after both of you have done the voir dire, and then when the egg gets up and says, first 12 are fine with the people you're
Well, that's, you know, you have to make your challenges openly. You can't do it by secret ballot, which is a way that the court intends to intimidate you. You know, he could, if he wanted to, in his sound discretion, he has perfect right to say, let's each side do this by slip